gorgeous day here in Columbia, South Carolina. Williams-Brice Stadium, and the Gamecocks are glad to be home. They have spent a lot of time on the road, just their second home game of the year. Their first 3 conference games were all on the road. They finally get to open up SEC play under Will Muschamp inside the friendly confines, and they need a victory in a big way. 5 straight home games coming up for South Carolina. But the test today, a tough one against 9th-ranked Texas A&M, a team playing so well. The home folks ready to go as this one just moments away right here on the SEC Network. You are watching the Dr. Pepper Road to the Championship. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dave Neal. This is former Georgia All-American Matt Stinchcomb. Glad you could be with us. And boy, the talk around college football, at least one of the topics of discussion, this Texas A&M football team, what they did to Arkansas last weekend. They are playing some fantastic football. They're 4-0 right now. And Matt, they have been in this position before, but people are talking about this as a team that probably has a chance to make a run at Alabama and possibly play for an SEC championship. And when you do that, certainly the college football playoff comes into the discussion. But you have a checklist you like to run through before we start getting to that conversation. Let's go through your checklist. And does Texas A&M, I guess, do they check off some of those things?
Yeah, when you look at championship caliber football teams, there's a couple of common denominators, and it starts with having a playmaker at your quarterback position. He touches the football every offensive snap. He's the hub of what you're trying to do. With this year and Trevor Knight, he has been electric, not only as a rusher, but doing an excellent job with the plays that he makes as far as protecting the football. You got to run the ball if you want to be a champion, and so far this season, A&M leads the conference in rushing with nearly 270 rushing yards per game. Travion Williams has stormed onto the scene as a game breaker along with Keith Ford. Defensively, you have to be able to stop the rushing attacks that you'll see week in and week out, especially in the Southeastern Conference, and nothing personifies that better than the 2 goal line stands that we saw last week by A&M defense. And finally, you have to affect the passer. If it's a tight ball game, can you get the opposing team's quarterback uncomfortable in the pocket? Few teams are able to do that better than this Aggie defense. Personnel alone threatens the opposing team's passers when you look at what they have on their front line.
Well, when you talk to the folks around this Aggie program, there just seems to be a little bit of a different attitude about this group. As we said, the last couple of years, they've been in this position. They just haven't been able to close the deal. We'll see if they can as this season unfolds. Meanwhile, for South Carolina, offense has certainly been a big issue for them, scoring points at a premium. But one thing that they have been able to do is play a little defense, especially when you consider what they did the last couple of years defensively. Will Muschamp has brought that attitude. Talk to me about what he's been able to do against Texas A&M the last couple of years.
Well, he's faced them twice. Once as a head coach, obviously at Florida in the SEC opener, the first game of the season for A&M under Kevin Sumlin, was able to escape with a victory, and then last year as the defensive coordinator at Auburn, able to secure a decisive victory over an A&M offense that was somewhat in flux in that ball game at the time, knocked the quarterback out. Will Muschamp has seen this high-octane offense before, but it's different this season than it was a year ago because of that rushing attack and how potent it's been so far through 4 games.
South Carolina, they won the toss. They want the football. So they were back to receive the opening kick. And this one will sail through the end zone. 3rd member of our team once again down the sidelines. Let's go down to Olivia Harlan.
Hey, Dave, no Myles Garrett today for Texas A&M. Lower leg injury, arguably one of the best defensive ends in the country. Aggies also without 2 receivers, Speedy Noyle and Ricky Seals-Jones. All did not travel. The reason, Coach Sumlin told me, is because South Carolina is one of their longest trips of the season. They can't risk swelling on the plane ride over or waste precious rehab time. Their plan then is to feed the ball a lot to Christian Kirk, who dropped a punt and 2 passes last week. Coach Sumlin said he was a beat off. They want to get him back in his groove today.
Thank you, Olivia. And there's certainly some issues for South Carolina as well. And we will update that after this first play as Brandon McElwain makes the start again, his third consecutive start at quarterback. First handoff goes to A.J. Turner, has some room around the corner. He breaks free, still on his feet to the 30, to the 20, cuts it back. First play of the game to the house for the Gamecocks, 75 yards. There are no flags. How about that for a quick start? Point after is up and good by Elliott Fry. And the house is a-rocking at Williams-Brice.
You talk about a quick start. A&M hasn't given a score on the opening possession since UCLA, and they ran right towards A&M's right defensive side, their offensive left, where Myles Garrett typically would be. Deshaun Hall, who is usually the left defensive end, lined up in Myles Garrett's absence. And the Gamecock offense able to get A.J. Turner loose and free. He's an excellent return man. We saw that a couple of weeks ago in the home opener for the Gamecocks when they were able to get off to a great start, and now twice in both home games where A.J. Turner for South Carolina is able to set the tone and give his team a spark up early 7-0 versus this A&M defense.
South Carolina is averaging only 90 yards a game on the ground. That rush went for 75 for A.J. Turner. The last 3 games, he's had just 87 yards rushing. I guess it's good to be home.
Well, they've had quick starts both times. And if you're A&M, as we mentioned, somewhat uncharted territory. They've done a great job not only opening games, but doing a good job with the opening possessions in the third quarters as well. But right now, the Gamecocks getting the exact start they needed.
That will sail through the end zone out to the 25-yard line. Now it's an opportunity for graduate transfer quarterback Trevor Knights, the senior out of San Antonio, Texas, to get the football for Texas A&M. Boy, what a night he had over in Arlington, Texas. Completion percentage at 53%, but his ability to run with the football is a difference.
It was interesting talking with offensive coordinator Noel Mazzoni yesterday. He likes the fact that he's kind of a running jump shooter, to make a basketball analogy. Likes to move the pocket, likes to run and gun, but the last 2 games he's done a good job of protecting the football as well as making the big explosive plays.
Will throw near side. Christian Kirk makes the catch, picks up a couple of yards. He'll spot it out to the 28-yard line, and this will be a depleted receiving corps for Texas A&M today. But they still do have Kirk and Josh Reynolds that can make some big plays offensively. Kirk around the right side. He's hit right at the 30. Another pickup of 3. So Josh Reynolds, a guy that we expect to see a lot today.
They're going to need to get the ball to him. Obviously feeding Christian Kirk 2 touches on the opening 2 plays on a fly sweep. But Josh Reynolds is a big hitter. He's the guy that can get behind the secondary, as evidenced last week with a 90-plus yarder versus Arkansas for strip 6.
Quick throw to Kirk. First 3 plays, and Kirk picks up the first down out to the 38-yard line as he picks up 8 yards. Stephen Montauk on that coverage for South Carolina.
This is something that they said they were going to emphasize. Noel Mazzoni said, I want to feed number 3, get him his touches. Now he's been able to do it on the ground and in the passing game.
Knight going up top, has a man, pass is caught inside the 35-yard line. They will spot it close to the 30, actually put it down at the 29. A big pickup of 33 yards inside Carolina territory.
See, another bad snap. They've had some issues with that. Low ball. Trevor Knight showing athleticism, just fielding the snap and then able to deliver a strike to Tabuya.
Just his 5th catch of the season. First down and 10. Aggies go the other side. Boy, they are spreading it all over the field now. Big hit on the outside.
Big play by DJ Smith coming up. Hit on Frank Iheanacho. He's in this game in replacement of Ricky Seals-Jones. You see a strong finish towards the back end, but A&M able to hop into their tempo offense and jumping the snap.
Boy, all day for Knight. Inside the 5. That pass is caught.
South Carolina
Tabuya with another catch. That one picks up 18.
Another big hitter, right, Dave? And we've seen this all season long. South Carolina bend but don't break. The problem is when you've got these big explosive playmakers, horizontal passing game stretching you out sideline to sideline, and then able to take a shot downfield.
Trevor Knight looking for a little bit of room. Hit at the goal line, falls forward, touchdown from 4 yards out. That is how you answer the South Carolina touchdown. 7 plays, 75 yards.
We talked about how dangerous Trevor Knight is as a runner, and he looks like he's clearly in the end zone. He has been a difference maker for this offense. They aren't as explosive, perhaps, numbers-wise in the passing game, but he has brought stability to this offense. This is as balanced an offense as you'll find in the conference, as evidenced by that drive.
Tabuya, Iheanacho also got involved in that series. So spreading it around, capped off by Trevor Knight's 3rd rushing touchdown of the season. An impressive opening drive and a statement perhaps by Texas A&M. We're tied at 7. A rather quick start here in Columbia, South Carolina. Both teams have put 7 on the board, and we still have 12:31 to go in the opening quarter. Trevor Knight takes it in for yet another touchdown. Had a couple of those against Arkansas. 2 explosive touchdown runs. This one didn't have that far to run. He had 2 40-plus runs against the Hogs. This one from 4 yards out. The 7th touchdown rushing of the season. And let's go back to both of our touchdown runs.
Well, the first one to A.J. Turner, you're just going to get 2 pin blocks right here at the point of attack and then a couple of pullers to lead Turner up into the alley. Watch Alan Knott does a good job, as does left guard Zach Bailey. And then kind of a poor angle and a missed tackle by Justin Evans from his safety position. And then a similar scenario here. Just 2 pins and a pull at the point of attack. Colton Prater gets out in front. Needs to bring his feet a little bit better than that, but it was enough for Trevor Knight to get across the goal line.
So McElwain will line up in that shotgun with A.J. Turner to his left. He'll hand it off. Turner this time only 3 yards on the carry. One of the things South Carolina wants to do today, and that is shorten this game up. They need some long drives. They need to run the play clock down.
They're having to engineer around so many young faces and a turnstile at the wide receiver position. Slow it down, look to the sideline, get in the right play.
Here's McElwain. He'll get outside the 30 to the 31. Let's go downstairs, check in with Olivia.
Dave, Gamecocks so depleted at wide receiver with Devo Samuel, Brian Edwards, and Rendricus Davis out. In fact, when we asked offensive coordinator Kurt Roper who their best receiver in the screen game is now, he said their tight end, Hayden Hurst. Even there, the Gamecocks are 1 injury from training him at the wideout spot. Expect Hayden to do it all tonight, receiving and blocking in their max protection package.
You're looking at their 2 big play guys, and Samuel and Edwards. First down for South Carolina to the 40-yard line. A pickup of 9. That's A.J. Turner.
There's another thing that offensive coordinator Kurt Roper wanted to get going. Passes to the back out of the backfield. They're high percentage completions. But it's also an opportunity to get A.J. Turner out in space That time, easy to deliver the football, pick up the first down, convert the sticks, and as you mentioned, Dave, important for them to maintain possession, not just to score, but to keep the defense on the field.
There goes Turner again. Not a whole lot happening. Henderson, defensive tackle, steps up to make the play. And McElwain last week, coaches said, might have taken a step back. They felt like he took some strides against East Carolina, but really missed some assignments. They thought they had a few, I wouldn't say big plays, but some substantial gainers that he missed on against Kentucky.
Not just procedural issues, but reading the offense in the zone read option game. Made a couple of pulls, kept the ball when he shouldn't have. Nothing
again. Turner stuffed at the line of scrimmage by the front of that Texas A&M defense. You look at the offensive lineup for South Carolina. We talked about Hayden Hurst leads the team with 19 catches. The former professional baseball player has to pretty much do it all today if they want to have some success offensively. Good tight end group, though, with Crosby and Jacob August along with Hayden Hurst. Away. That ball is intercepted, inbounds or not by Justin Evans. Let's see what they'll rule. They'll say he was inbounds. That'll be a turnover, and the Aggies have it at the 46-yard line.
You got to take another look at this one. You see Evans, incredible catch, but you see that left foot. It looks like his feet right there, the heel, clearly out of bounds when he came down with the football. Ball underthrown. Evans had an opportunity to track it from his safety position. Makes a leaping grab. Look at that one, though. I don't see any green between those spatted up shoes. All that tape on it. And that look at it looks to me clear that his left ankle, or his left heel rather, touches down out of bounds. Lucky break for South Carolina right there. Incidentally, it looked like their right tackle, Malik Young, flinched right before the ball was snapped. Wasn't called by the line judge.
Saw some Aggies pointing right at him.
Oh, yeah. The defense is always quick to help out the officials if an offensive lineman even breathes heavy. That time they missed it.
There is one thing I'll say about McElwain this year. He's thrown the ball 91 times coming into this game and hasn't thrown a pick all season.
He's done a relatively good job of protecting the football, and obviously that can be pivotal. You've got an offense that's having difficulty finding its legs, figuring out what they do best. What makes it a little more difficult is those shoes are so spatted up, all that tape, that it blends right into the sideline. That look to me makes it look like a catch. The one from behind the end zone, look at it, it looked like his heel was clearly out of bounds.
Yeah, I think he was on the line. The toe heel with the back, when your back is to the line, you've got to get the toe and the heel inbounds.
Regardless, this is a great play by Justin Evans. Poor decision by McElwain to try to force it downfield that time.
After further review, the player possessed the ball, but his foot came down on the sideline. Therefore, the pass is incomplete. It's fourth down.
So a punting situation now for South Carolina.
And you can see, obviously, completes the catch as far as possessing the football, but didn't do so inbounds. Lucky break for South Carolina. They actually cheered it because in a field position game, last thing you want is to give this Aggie offense a short field to work with.
Sean Kelly will punt it away, averaging 41 yards per punt. Christian Kirk will take it at the 18-yard line, a 40-yard punt. Aggies went 75 yards on their opening drive. It was 5 of 5 through the air. Back in a moment.
Focus at the task at hand, but the fans, of course, be interested to see how that Tennessee-Georgia game turns out.
Trevor Knight looking for another big play. Tight spiral. That ball's batted away at the 30-yard line.
He was looking for Josh Reynolds. Chris Lamons, who's done an excellent job ever since the Mississippi State game, never got his head around, but was able to get his hand on this football. That ball thrown a little bit too far inside. Didn't give Reynolds an opportunity to adjust to the football. Lamons has been one of the defenders that have really responded to the coaching that they've received this year so far.
Trevor Knight to the 25, falls forward to the 26. 6.5 on the carry. DJ Smith comes up.
Mentioned several times this year, Trevor Knight's completion percentage. But the defensive coaches for South Carolina noted he's not scared to go up top and give his receivers a shot. That gets in the minds of the secondary to see the ball going up and over their head and can loosen up the box on a 3rd and short.
Slant over the middle. Pass is caught by Reynolds. The 6'4 receiver has the first down out over the 30 to the 31-yard line for Reynolds, his 18th grab of the year.
Well, Reynolds is the safety blanket on 3rd down. We saw it last week versus Arkansas. Trevor Knight is going to look number 11's way if it's a passing down when he needs to convert.
Trying to set up looks like a middle screen there to Keith Ford. South Carolina looks like they played it pretty well. 2nd down and 10. Pressure came from the freshman T.J. Brunson.
The coaching staff mentioned when we were here 2 weeks ago, T.J. Brunson was earning some more playing time. Lots of true freshmen, young guys playing for this South Carolina roster. At that time, the screen game so slow developing that Trevor Knight just had to burn the play. Now facing a 2nd and long and just trying to get back on schedule.
Out to the 34-yard line. Keith Ford with the carry. Brought down by Mr. Brunson. You mentioned freshmen, and there are a ton of freshmen on this South Carolina team. Of their 116-man roster, 56 true and redshirt freshmen. Third down and 7.
Here's Josh Reynolds right here at the bottom of your screen.
And Knight has to throw it away. It's 4th down. Dante Sawyer, who had a 3-sack game, Dante Sawyer has 1 sack on the year. The junior from Suwanee, Georgia, putting the pressure on Mr. Knight.
Also Bryson Allen Williams, a guy that they said they need to get going. He's an excellent pass rusher. Knight was looking to get the football to Reynolds, but was unable to ever set his feet. Allen Williams flushing him from the pocket inside out.
And that's out of bounds. Let's see where they spot it at the 22-yard line. So South Carolina's defense holds up. Now, in 2014, South Carolina and Texas A&M met. But if you go back in time, boy, what a run for Steve Spurrier in South Carolina from 2011 to 13. They won 33 games, went 33-6, 3 straight 11-win seasons. And in 2014, these two clubs squared off. The first game on the SEC network. South Carolina got hammered by Texas A&M. I mean, just hammered. And since then, South Carolina has gone 12-17. A lot of people point to that game as kind of maybe the slide for this Gamecock program. It has not gone well. They won those 7 games in 2014. Of course, last year, middle of the season, Steve Spurrier steps away from the game. Sean Elliott takes over as the interim coach. They win 3 ball games as Rico Dowdle gets his first work, the youngster. A flag down on the play.
Texas A&M does so much stemming of their defensive line. They'll shift late. I'm not sure that they didn't get one of the offensive linemen to move.
Offside. Defense, number 9. 5-yard penalty. Still 1st down.
Quaylen Cunningham is going to have some more playing time today. Obviously, with no Myles Garrett, started the game and moved Deshaun Hall over to Garrett's typical right defensive end spot. And it was Cunningham that was stemming down to line up over the offensive guard, something that A&M does quite a bit. That time ended up in the neutral zone.
That pass is complete out to the 33-yard line. That'll be good enough for the first down. Dawkins with the catch, another true freshman. Nick Harvey on the coverage.
Good job by the true freshman Dawkins. Freshman to freshman connection. You're going to see a lot of that if South Carolina's going to have some success here today. A contested throw and a needed one to convert the sticks.
Just his second catch of his young career. Had 73 catches, though, his senior year in high school. A little razzle-dazzle from the Gamecocks, and, well, that's not happening on Justin Evans' watch. No sirree. Oh.
Here's the thing. You just said Davis Dawkins, nice catch, but you got to block 83. Justin Evans is one of the biggest hitters in this conference from his safety position, not scared to come up and level the boom, and he did on that tackle.
Off to a great start is Mr. Evans, and that one is now incomplete. Third down coming up. There's a flag, though, on the field around the 43-yard line.
Working against Nick Harvey, going to Dawkins again. It looked like Dawkins was underneath it. I thought he gave up on the route.
Holding against an eligible receiver, number 1 of the defense. The penalty is 10 yards from the previous spot and includes an automatic first down.
See, entering the screen there, Dawkins, number 83. He's not even looking for this football as McElwain releases it, but you could see the contact number 1 Nick Harvey had with him as he released inside. An automatic first down. There you can see, this is what they said they do. Look back, looking over to the sideline, making sure that not only is the offense set, but that they're in the proper play.
Two tight ends set, now an empty backfield. And McElwain chooses to run it. Has a little bit of a seam, reaches over the 45-yard line. He'll be just shy of the line to give him 9.
Basically the same play as the touchdown run to open the game. That time, center and tackle able to get out in front of the runner, Brandon McElwain.
Quick snap. Turner trying to find some room.
That time was Big David Williams, and he showed pretty good patience. Not something you're typically looking for in a short yardage situation, but able to keep his legs turning and to pick up that first down. You mentioned earlier, Dave, not a lot of running room between the tackles. I don't think that they're going to be able to make their living offensively there, but it does keep a defense honest if you give them a couple of body blows.
Already more yards than they average. A 75-yarder to start the game certainly helps their case. Gujar with the reception. His third catch of the year, the sophomore out of Atlanta. Boy, we're seeing a lot of names that we have not seen from South Carolina catching some footballs without Debo Samuel, Rodriguez Davis, and Brian Edwards, all out with hamstring injuries. Williams, not much happening, picks up a yard and a half. Boy, there's one area, and you talked to John Chavis about his defense. He feels like there's one area that they've made some strides, and that's in the middle of their defense.
Yeah, physically, they're a different football team. So far, he said it was the off-season conditioning where they basically re-emphasized size and mass, power versus endurance and speed. Obviously, you don't want to compromise too much on the speed side of things, but the physical presence is a marked difference for the A&M defense from end to end in their front. They've done a much better job of slowing down the run, although this drive continues off of 2 nice short yardage run conversions.
Quick slant. That ball is picked off. Texas A&M has it. Armani Watts with the interception. They were looking for Hayden Hurst. It was batted in the air, and Watts has his first pick of the year.
This is a run-pass option. That option to leave it in the backs hands or try to pull it out and stab it in there to Hayden Hurst. And you look at Armani Watts. You talk about a couple of safeties. We've mentioned both their names, he and Justin Evans, on this drive. Watts able to come up with a drive-killing turnover. Neither one of these guys got the respect that many of the Aggie coaches, anyone around that program, thought they deserved. Both those safeties making their presence felt on that series.
Here's Trevor Knight. Sees a hole. Has a first down out over the 35 to the 37. It's 12 and a half, maybe 13 yards before Chris Lamons brings him down.
This is one of their better plays. It's that exact same play where Trevor Knight hit 2 long runs last week versus Arkansas.
Travion Williams, the true freshman.
Back with the same play. You can see how dangerous it can be. It's the exact same look, the same formation, but you can end up either your quarterback keeping it or leaving it with the running back. We know Travion Williams has got the speed to take it to the house.
Little sidearm swing out to Christian Kirk. He's pushed out of bounds at the 42.5, 43-yard line by DJ Smith, a gain of 5, and now you're looking at third down at about 4.
And this is a rundown for Texas A&M. Some offenses might start thinking obvious passing down, but we've seen demonstrated the Aggies aren't scared to leave the football on the ground. As long as number 8 is in the offensive backfield, there's always that threat to rush the football.
Kirk has the first down in South Carolina territory at the 47-yard line, a gain of 12. Lamons and Smith combined for the tackle, but the Aggies quickly to the line of scrimmage on first down and 10.
That's effectively a screen pass. You got Frank Ihenacho in front, not only running off the defenders, but blocking almost immediately so they get the ball to Christian Kirk and move the line of scrimmage.
Near side again to Kirk. Go downstairs to Olivia.
Guys, DeForest Robinson, the defensive coordinator for South Carolina, was happy with his group, said way to respond after allowing 1 rushing touchdown and then stopping to drive, especially cornerback Rashad Fenton. He went up to him and said, "How you liking their man-to-man stuff?" He gave him a thumbs up and said, "I like it. They're so limited at corner. It's just 3 guys they like there."
Thanks, Olivia. Here goes Travion Williams. He's met on the outside by Rashad Fenton, the aforementioned Mr. Fenton, the guy that Coach Robinson said they really need him to step it up. They expect a little bit out of him. They think he's a talented player, and he has been challenged today.
So lean at that defensive back position. They can't even get into dime personnel with 6 defensive backs because of the numbers game. But Rashad Fenton, as you mentioned, one of their better cover guys. They need him to play like that, especially versus an attack like A&M's.
Third down and short for the Aggies. 3 out of 4 on conversions this afternoon. Knight keeps it. Around the corner, first down, drive stays alive as he picks up 5.
Just so much to diagnose if you're a defender when you're looking at this Aggie offensive backfield. That time 2 backs and a motion man, and your quarterback ends up keeping the football, pulling it around on the edge, and it's all too easy as a defender to have your eyes lie to where you're supposed to go. The mesh point where the quarterback is handing the football off is so muddied and happens so quickly.
Knight all day to throw again. Lofts it up, open. Williams can make a play. You talk about this offense, hard to figure out what you're seeing. A lot of motion, but it's also the balance. They came into this, they had run 153 times. They had passed the ball 153 times.
It's great. The number is so perfect that it scares you. You got to check it 2 or 3 times. But what's interesting is that there are so many run-pass options. The fact that it has worked out that way, and they've been so balanced. You look at them; they're averaging 7 yards a pass, 7 yards a rush. That's about as perfect an offensive approach as you can find.
Nice run from Williams, made a man miss in the backfield, picks up 6 yards. Boy, he is just an explosive, outstanding running back out of Houston, Texas, C.E. King High School. In one game, he went for 355 and 5 touchdowns last year. 10th play of the drive coming up.
You see the first drive, passes largely. Trevor Knight getting the football down the field. This time, the Aggies able to establish the run game and possess this football, can wear down the defense early.
High throw, incomplete. So now you're kind of in that area where you can think about the field goal, maybe 4th down, go for it, but it looks like the kicking team on the way out.
Take the points, I think. Offense has done a good job moving the football. Kevin Sumlin going to go ahead and pop one through the uprights if he can. But you can see the danger here is if the Aggies get that ground game going, that's when some of the big explosive plays can come, not just as a rushing attack, but in that passing game as demonstrated with their opening possession.
Daniel LaCamera is hit from 48 twice this year. This from 44 out of the far hash mark. The kick is on the way. And it is no good. And the Gamecock defense has done it again.
You got to be thrilled right now. If you're Travaris Robinson, your defense has delivered, keeping the Aggies off of the scoreboard, keeping the score all knotted up.
College football tradition.
Well, Texas A&M revealed their alternate football uniform today, which is based off their 1956 team dubbed the Junction Boys. Remembered for their 9-0 record in 56, led by Paul Bear Bryant. Saw them ranked in the top 5. Also won the Southwest Conference Championship, led by legendary John David Crow. How about Hayden Hurst with a pass completion to A.J. Turner, who gets walloped on the far side, but Hayden Hurst, you better be ready to catch it. Now, he used to be able to pitch. He used to throw it over 90 miles an hour.
I don't think he had quite as much juice on this one, though. Certainly showed with arm strength, though. I'll tell you what, that ball came out pretty nicely out of his hands.
Another baseball player, McElwain, out to Hayden Hurst. He's out over the 40 to the 41, and Hayden.
Well, on that first play, the big run was a block by Hayden Hurst at the point of attack. Now we've seen him complete a pass and then take one of those screens that Kurt Roper mentioned. You know, if you're going to take a quick now pass, throw it out there to the perimeter. Who's it going to, Coach? He said Hayden Hurst is the best guy we can give it to.
Well, some fireworks to get this one started. Gamecocks, Texas A&M at Williams-Brice Stadium on a gorgeous day. First 15 minutes are in the books. Back in a moment. Tied at 7 here in Columbia. Dave Neal, Matt Stinchcomb, Olivia Harlan down on the sidelines. But South Carolina, boy, you go back to that great run of 11 straight wins, 11, 12, and 13. Connor Shaw was the last quarterback of that run, but they have really had a hard time trying to settle in on somebody. Brandon McElwain, the true freshman right now, running the show. That's been part of their problem, just finding some consistency at this position. You could almost say the same thing for Texas A&M, the other side. They have had a hard time finding somebody to lock in a quarterback for the Aggies since Johnny football.
No question. And you talk about Johnny Manziel obviously has that Heisman Trophy, but you ask anyone around the South Carolina program, one of their finest quarterbacks, certainly one of the most successful, and Connor Shaw is quick to leap out of their mouths. They mentioned all these other guys, Marcus Lattimore and Clowney's, but Connor Shaw made a huge impact on this program.
Second down at 6. Boy, nothing happening there as McElwain is hammered.
That time Deshaun Hall played it so well. He ends up actually playing it so wide, collapsing back in. It was an option look for McElwain to be able to pitch it. And Hall, who's the other half of what is typically the most threatening defensive end tandem really in all of college football when Myles Garrett is healthy. As we've mentioned, he's playing on the opposite end of the line of scrimmage where Garrett typically is, although they'll move Garrett all over the place. Hall at the right defensive end spot here today.
McElwain decides to keep it. He'll be close to the first down and he'll have it. Should be right on that line.
That time defensive coordinator John Chavis brought pressure. Blitz Otero Alaka from his linebacker position. That's the danger, though, when you blitz or pressure a mobile quarterback. When that pocket collapses, it's chaos. And can the quarterback do a good job of making the right decision, either delivering the football, throwing it away, or tucking and running? That time McElwain showing why he was the number 7 dual threat quarterback in the country last year.
They'll get it out to Turner, and that ball was read extremely well by James Lockhart. He saw that from the snap and chased Turner down for a loss of 3.
This is one of the things that Kurt Roper wanted to be able to do. You see James Lockhart there standing up, able to look right into the backfield, and they short motion the back. And the hopes that no defender would sprint out there with him. That time Lockhart, from his stand-up in position, did a great job of diagnosing and getting upfield quickly. A negative yardage play that this South Carolina offense typically just cannot overcome.
Turner and Dowdle in the backfield. McElwain will lose another yard. It'll be 3rd down. Alaka, middle linebacker.
Here I am talking about, you might want to be a little bit nervous about bringing pressure versus mobile quarterbacks. John Chavis has been around a long time. Comes back with the exact same pressure, this time to the other side of the line of scrimmage, and it gets home. Negative yardage play. Sense a little blood in the water. Why not come after him? That time bring in 5. And Alaka able to disrupt and force McElwain to flush. Yet another tackle.
3rd and 16 for the Gamecocks. McElwain nowhere to go. Sean Washington, the senior, making the stop. Another loss. 3 straight plays of negative yardage for South Carolina, and they'll have to punt it away.
We were talking with Coach Chavis yesterday. Who do you want to attack? Usually on an obvious passing down. It's 3rd down and forever. You move your defensive ends over the guards. That time you got a couple of linebackers rushing inside and stunting. It's a huge disadvantage to the offensive front, as active and as athletic as this A&M front is.
Sean Kelly will punt it away. Christian Kirk. Boy, that is a high kick. Kirk calls it the fair catch and makes it inside the 28, 39-yard punt. A&M back on the field with the football, tied at 7. Back in a moment. Well, it's not a coincidence that Trevor Knight and Noel Mazzoni arrived at Texas A&M within a week of each other. They've solidified the offense and the quarterback spot, but that has been a problem spot, as we talked about a few moments ago. When you look at the guys that have been run out there at quarterback, Hill, Allen, and Murray no longer with the program, and all guys that came in with a ton of accolades. But now you got a guy that's played at Oklahoma, been in some big games. Davion Williams hit on that 1st down carry after a pickup of 2. And, you know, you can talk about his ability, but I think one thing Trevor Knight has done is he has certainly brought some stability, not just to the position, but to the team.
No question. Part of it is just his countenance, how he carries himself. No drama type of a guy, a leader, and endeared himself to his teammates almost immediately.
James White, his first carry is enough for a 1st down, but there is a flag back at the line of scrimmage.
Holding on the offense, number 76. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat, 2nd down.
Well, the true freshman Colton Prater is an early enrollee.
They said it was on the left guard. Yeah, you see there late. Trying to get cross-faced.
That was behind the play, too.
Yeah, almost typically it happens that way, working against true freshman Keir Thomas. A guy that South Carolina said had earned some playing time. Started this football game in defensive tackle spot and cross-faced and drew the holding call.
But now 2nd down and 18 for the Aggies. Knight looking for another big play. Has a man. Kirk was there. He just overthrew him by a foot or two. DJ Smith was the defensive back in pursuit, but Kirk had his man beat.
You see it, play action pass, the rush converging on Knight, and just too much juice on that throw. You see him lamenting wanted that pass back one more time because Kirk clearly runs away. No one's going to catch him at that point at a full speed.
Well, A&M leads the FBS with 12 plays over 40 yards this year. They'll need a big one here. It's 3rd down and 18. Knight lofts it up, gentle touch, and that is a one-handed grab for a first down by Tabuya. A gain of 28, you can move the chains. How about the one-handed grab?
How about instead of a back shoulder, how about a front shoulder? I mean, he turned completely around and is able to make that catch with his inside hand and just his inside hand. Chris Lamons in pretty good position to make that play, just a circus catch by Tabuya.
Knight will come this way with it. He'll loft it up in the air again, incomplete. Tabuya now 3 catches at 78 yards, but this certainly was the most acrobatic.
See, Lamons got turned around completely as well, but what body control and focus to be able to complete that catch. Tabuya getting some more time here today with the injury to Speedy Noyle, and has already made his presence felt. Those 3 catches for nearly 80 yards.
Williams will take it to the 45. He'll pick up 7.
Of course, if you're South Carolina, you can't believe that you let A&M out of the gate like that. Had them behind the down and distance because of the holding call, and now the offense is at midfield.
3rd down and let's call it 3.5. Aggies today. 5 out of 8 on 3rd down conversions. Kirk in motion. Well, pitch it, first down. Boy, Trevor Knight.
How many different things do you have to stop on this one play? You got to fake on the fly sweep. You got to fake on the give to Williams inside. Trevor Knight gets it on the perimeter, and if you get him strung out, I'll just pitch it.
They'll go to Kirk again, trying to turn the corner. He's flipped up, 45. Boy, this is what Coach Robinson was talking about in our meetings. South Carolina, he said, we've got to get off the field on 3rd down. They've had some opportunities. Boy, that could have been picked off. Miscommunication. DeMarcus King almost had his hands on it. Edward Pope was the intended receiver.
Nearly picked off the big stop that South Carolina would have needed. And you could see after that play, Trevor Knight looking out there, communicating to Edward Pope. He clearly expected Pope to continue his route and cross the face of JaMarcus King.
4-man rush. Knight underneath to Kirk. Boy, Kirk's looking incomplete. He bobbled it out of bounds. But Kirk is certainly the guy they're trying to get the football to. He'll line it up all over the field.
Noel Mazzoni wasn't messing around with us when he said that we were going to try to get the ball to him. Well, he certainly have, but you see Kirk has to come up with that reception to make the conversion. But as it is, you can see right now Kevin Sumlin, Noel Mazzoni rolling the dice on the plus side of the field for a 4th down attempt.
Pressure comes, Knight is hit, Kirk makes the catch. I don't know if it's good enough for the first down. I think he's short.
Knight delivered that football under duress. Had a pass rusher, Bryson Allen Williams again with a free run. And Christian Kirk able to make that catch, but just shy of the yardage needed. And South Carolina again coming up with a big defensive stop.
And the Aggies pulled out the victory 10-8. Congratulations to them. Here at 7-7, number 9 Texas A&M, South Carolina, first conference home game for the Gamecocks after they opened up with 3 SEC contests on the road. A.J. Turner brought down by Deshaun Hall after South Carolina's defense. They were on the field, by the way, 2 weeks ago against East Carolina. They gave up a ton of yards. This South Carolina defense was on the field 91 plays against the Pirates as South Carolina held on to win 20-15. This South Carolina defense on the field a bunch already here in the first half, but they keep coming up with a stop.
Well, it's like Noel Mazzoni said, the longer drives go on, the higher the opportunity is for something to go wrong. It nearly did twice on that drive. Gamecocks get the ball back to their offense.
Well, that ball was batted in the air, almost picked off, looking for Gujar. Donovan Wilson comes in there, thought he almost had a chance for an interception. 7:18 to go before halftime. Now you're looking at 3rd down and 13.
Gujar had to close on his route. You can see the difficulties that South Carolina has had offensively, getting things going. The end of those drives, a couple of punts and a pick. A near pick there. Gujar turning into a defensive back to try to break up what looked like an intended pass to Donovan Wilson.
Here comes some heat from Texas A&M, and down goes McElwain. A loss of 7. Deshaun Hall, the first man there. First sack of the day for the Aggies.
And I think it was just a matter of time. Get behind the down and distance. That first tackle for loss on 1st down. In South Carolina, few offenses, frankly, are equipped to overcome more than 10 yards, even with 3 attempts. But you get behind the sticks, you find yourself in a 3rd and long, and the defense just licking their chops.
Sean Kelly wants it away. This time an opportunity for Kirk to return it. He's out to the 30-yard line, a 48-yard punt. Deshaun Hall going at it alone today. His partner, Myles Garrett, didn't make the trip, lower leg injury. But Hall getting it done, tied at 7. Aggies defense really teeing off right now. What's going on?
Well, they're jumping the count. Now watch Dalen Mack right here. This is a 1st down play. When Alan Knott, the center, looks up, Mack's gone. Oh, he's already in the neutral zone. That's the tackle for loss to open that series. That offensive possession was dead on arrival, and it literally started with the first snap.
So they've got a trigger now defensively.
They're going to have to change the snap count up.
Knight over the middle. That one should have been picked off. Oh, doesn't get much easier than that. Jonathan Walton, the senior out of Daphne, Alabama.
Just dropping back in his zone. You see Christian Kirk is just trying to set up, and Trevor Knight never saw Walton. I don't know if he thought that number 28, Jonathan Walton, was going to drift further, but he was right there to make that catch like he's the intended receiver.
Well, swinging out to Kirk, who was hit immediately. A loss of 6. DJ Smith, the first one there.
You can tell as soon as they stand up to throw that football out wide, DJ Smith is crashing down to make this play. We just talked about negative yardage plays for the South Carolina offense. Same can be true for the Aggies. But keep in mind, on the earlier possession, had a holding penalty. South Carolina, from a field position standpoint, they want to make sure they get the Aggies off the field and force a punt. Don't let them out of the gate like they did early.
Incomplete on the far side. No flags on the play, and a 4th down coming up.
Travaris Robinson said he wanted to make Trevor Knight beat them as a passer. There's no better way to do that than force 3rd and long situations on the season coming into the game. Only 35% completions for Trevor Knight on 3rd downs.
Loose football. Rashad Fenton falls on it. A scary moment for Carolina fans.
Fenton there. He just short arms it. Goes right off of his fingertips, and lucky that ball just spun right at his feet.
And it has certainly been a strange week over in Baton Rouge. We saw Missouri last week, and boy, their offense is explosive to say the least. Will be quite interesting down the bayou.
That's a dangerous game for LSU. Everybody wrote off Missouri coming into the season. That offense is hot.
First down and 10. McElwain steps up, nowhere to go. He'll try to run for it, and he is swallowed up at the 32-yard line. He'll end up netting a yard out of that. But Henderson will drag him to the turf.
Well, Malik Young, number 77, who's starting this game. Usually we see DJ Park out there at the right tackle spot. That's what forced McElwain up into the pocket, but there was really nowhere to go with the football downfield. That time McElwain has to be a little bit more decisive and run with the football, pick up the yardage that you can.
Big hole up the middle. A.J. Turner hit by Claude George, pickup of 9. And it looks like they should be just shy of the first down. They need to get to the 41. You hear the boo birds. Crowd thought it was a bad spot. So that'll be third down and less than a yard.
A little surprised they're not going to ask him to measure that and bring the chains in and take a look, because it did look like it was a little bit closer. But a nice run between the tackles. We've only seen a couple of those for the South Carolina offense. But nice push, a third down and short, and we mentioned the goal line defense for the Aggies last week.
Cut it back. Rico Dowdle, the freshman who came in. Explosive. God has some little wiggle in him, but he's been bothered. Missed most of camp and the first month of the season with a bad groin injury. But coaches said, you know what, we got to get some explosiveness out on the field. And the young man getting his first work out of Asheville, North Carolina. Makes a man miss, falls to the 42-yard line.
Right now, you can see they like that cutback and run, just hitting it right downhill. It's an inside zone play. The offensive line stepping all to their left, but there's an opportunity on that backside to hit it straight up the gut.
South Carolina doing a lot more check with me with Brandon McElwain today than they've done all year. There's that cutback again. Dowdle has the first down. A young man who was a parade All-American. Played a little quarterback last year in high school, but was mainly a running back as a freshman, sophomore, and junior. Last year he rushed for over 2,500 yards, passed for over 1,400 yards. All told, 63 touchdowns a year ago in high school. Got a late offer from South Carolina. Came in on December 16th. Always wanted to go to South Carolina, as he grew up in Gaffney, South Carolina, before moving to Asheville. Big run from McElwain inside the 10. A flag, actually 2 flags are down in the backfield.
Yeah, they're going to call Zach Bailey for a hold. And if in fact that's the call, I'm going to go ahead and take exception to it.
2 fouls on the play, both holding on the offense, number 77 and 78. The penalty is 10 yards to the previous spot. Repeat, second down.
Yeah, you see number 78 shaking his head, and I agree. I think that's a bogus call on that one.
How do you really feel?
No, I mean, you're looking at the guy he ends up on the ground. You see number 78, Zach Bailey, ends up getting 2. You see him there? I don't see a hold at all on that call, on that play. They also called Malik Young the right tackle on a down block.
McElwain going up top, and that one is incomplete.
Those are the penalties you just can't have. You look at it, you get your offense going. They do an excellent job of getting your playmaker out on the edge. Lead blocker and A.J. Turner, McElwain able to get out there on the perimeter. A penalty like that forces you back. We already talked about having to stay on schedule. Not many offenses that are equipped to overcome an additional 10-yard deficit.
One thing this drive is doing is it's chewing up some of this clock. 2:22 to go before halftime. Second down. Rico Dowdle. No gain on the play. That right. The line of scrimmage by Washington.
Good job by Washington. A year ago, battled his way through injuries. The linebacker position was riddled with injuries the entire season. He's been a mainstay, a leader on that defensive side of the football. You can see South Carolina getting into a rhythm, running the football between the tackles. You see what those offensive penalties get you right back out of the rhythm, push you behind the down and distance. Give the Aggie defense a chance to come up with a stop.
I think Will Muschamp's going to let this clock run down and take a timeout. This is what Coach Muschamp and Kurt Roper wanted to do. They just wanted to eat up as much of this clock as they could, shorten this game up. They'll take that timeout. 1:37 to go. A big third down coming up. Also coming up at halftime, you can watch the live performance of the Mighty Sound of the Southeast on SEC Network Plus. You can start streaming that now on the ESPN app and on Watch ESPN. But here we have 1:37 to go before all of that activity. Third down and 20 for the Gamecocks as they sit at the 46-yard line. Forward progress out to the 44, gain of 3. Dawkins with the reception, and Kevin Sumlin will use one of his timeouts to stop the clock on this fourth down coming up for the Gamecocks. And we'll step aside as well. Back in a moment. Kevin Sumlin wants the football back for his offense. They have been held in check today. They came in averaging 37 points a game, 21st in the country, 3rd in the conference, averaging 545 yards a game, 13th in the country, 2nd in the conference. But right now, just a 7-7 ball game. South Carolina will punt it away. 1:28 to go before halftime. Sean Kelly. They punt it away to Christian Kirk. Short end over end kick. Kirk with the fair catch. Good job on both ends. And now A&M will have a long field to work with. 1:21 on the clock, and there'll be 2 timeouts remaining for the Aggies.
So far, South Carolina doing what it does best, which is forcing offenses to earn it. They try to keep them in front of them. We'll play coverage to make sure they don't give up the big play. Coming into this game, no team defensively had allowed fewer 20-plus yard plays. Only 13 had the Gamecock defense allowed opposing offenses. And as we mentioned, the longer a drive unfolds, the more opportunity for something bad to go wrong. We've seen a couple of near misses on picks.
Travion Williams will run it. He's out over the 20 to the 25-yard line. That's a gain of 12. A first down. Boy, Texas A&M up to 65 yards rushing. They came in averaging 270 yards on the ground, best in the conference. Batted in the air, incomplete.
Another play by Bryson Allen Williams. This time he was lined up at a defensive end position, working against Avery Genesee. And this is just a smart play. If you can't get to the passer, it's just as good for you to get your hand up and tip that football. And I tell you what, he could have made a play on the pick, but he got held.
Williams moves into the slot near side. Knight on the run, and that one almost picked off.
You said it, Dave. Bryson Allen Williams lined up in the slot. He's not a cover guy. He's a box player and an edge rusher. That time, Travaris Robinson brought him inside on a blitz. He got picked up, but it was enough to end up flushing Trevor Knight, make him make a running throw. We talked about the third down issues that the A&M Aggies have had, especially on obvious passing downs, and certainly 3rd and 10 is one.
Pass caught shy of the line to make. Hinicho with the reception, but he's about 4 yards, 3.5 yards shy of the first down. Chris Moody with a nice play to stop him shy of the line. 44 seconds to go before intermission. This college football season, be sure to stream every game live on the ESPN app and on Watch ESPN.
Some interesting happenings in that game as well. You know, in this one, obviously the opening possessions for both teams couldn't draw them up any better, really. South Carolina with the big play on their first play of the game, all the way to the house. A&M with a nice drive. And now the Gamecocks able to get the ball back with 44 to play in a timeout.
Aggies will punt it away. It is a good kick from Shane Kapuka. Fair catch called for by Fenton. A 51-yard blast. And the Gamecocks will have it. 37 seconds to go.
And you could see how the game plan changed, though, once South Carolina knew that Myles Garrett wasn't going to be on the football field. We met with the coaches, and they indicated, look, we liked Arkansas's plan. We're not scared to have two guys assigned to the defensive end, slide the protection, help our offensive front out, not ask them to do what they're not very well equipped to do, which would be to hold up to the pass rush. But with no Garrett, you could see they're allowing at least that offensive front to attempt to keep Brandon McElwain upright to deliver the football. The Aggies have gotten home and pressured him, but it's a different dynamic without number 15 for the Aggie D.
This inside handoff for A.J. Turner. 75 yards on the opening play from A.J. Turner. Took it to the end zone, and that's how the Gamecocks got on the board. He'll finish up with 8 carries and 97 yards. Texas A&M with 206 yards of offense. South Carolina with 167. Kevin Sumlin and Will Muschamp celebrate the same birth date. They'll also post the same number of points on the scoreboard through the first 2 quarters of this one. Our score at the half. We are tied at 7. A surprising number, to say the least. Time to send it to the studio for our Auto Owners Insurance Halftime Report.
Coach, your run game has been off the charts this season, and after that first drive, you can't get much going. What do you need to change?
We got to get some rhythm offensively. You know, we got guys open. We're working all kinds of places, but we got to get our running game going too, and take a little heat off our passing game.
What about South Carolina? Their rushing numbers already way above their game averages. How do you address that at halftime?
Well, they get 70 of them on one play, right? The first play. So I think that skewed a little bit. We've settled down. They haven't done anything since that first drive. So, you know, we've given up some yarders, but not like the first play of the game. All right, thank you.
You're watching the Dr. Pepper Road to the Championship. Tied at 7 here at Williams-Brice Stadium. Well, if you saw this one coming as a 7-7 game after 30 minutes of football, I want to hang out with you. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
We're going on a road trip. Stinch, this is certainly not what anybody expected. A 7-7 game. The history of these two teams tells you that there would be a lot of points on the board. That hasn't been the case. How do you diagnose what we just saw?
Well, part of it is the defense is doing a good job stepping up, specifically on the South Carolina side of things. And when you look at it, able to contain that offense largely outside of that first offensive drive where it looked like A&M was going to get into rhythm early. Obviously, South Carolina came right out of the gates offensively. First play of the game, taking it to the house with A.J. Turner. He's done this before here at home, and he did it again to set the tone. But then Trevor Knight comes right back. A big play to Tabuyo, who's playing in place of Speedy Noyle. And then Knight showing what he's done all season long so far, running the football. But Bryson Allen Williams has been a difference maker from a pressure standpoint, that time with a nice tip ball. And Armani Watts, who's one of the better safeties in the country. doing a good job of generating a turnover as well.
Well, the biggest number that stands out to me right now when you look at these numbers, rush yards for Texas A&M, they came in averaging over 260 yards a game on the ground, only 65 in the first half.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things where South Carolina said they wanted to come in here. They've done a good job of forcing third and long situations, obvious passing downs, getting A&M outside of their comfort zone. We mentioned that they've kind of got an expanded rush opportunity at 3rd and 5 or less. They're still thinking run.
A&M will have the football first here to start the second half. They'll kick it to the outside. Justin Evans out to the 30, a 26-yard return. Moments ago, Olivia Harlan had a chance to catch up with Coach Muschamp.
Coach, you've held a top 10 team to just 7 points. What's most encouraging on defense?
Well, we've eliminated the big plays other than the first drive. That was the issue on the first drive. Stay away from the big plays, force the quarterback to play quarterback.
You've got a quick start on offense, and you're rushing the ball better than you have the past couple weeks. How do you make that show up on the scoreboard?
Well, we just had some self-inflicted issues. We hurt ourselves on a couple poor decisions. Other than that, we're playing pretty well.
First play from scrimmage, Trevor Knight on that play that he scored against Arkansas, having to kick it outside. He'll pick up 4. Chaz Elder will force him out of bounds.
Good job by South Carolina. So far, Coach Muschamp just touched on it, keeping this explosive Aggie offense in front of them, making them earn it, tic-tac their way down the field, as opposed to big chunk plays where they're able to get on tempo and use some of their playmakers that they have throughout their offensive formation.
Williams will try to take it near side. He'll pick up a yard. And now it'll be 3rd down and call it 4.5, maybe 5. And another 3rd down opportunity here for this South Carolina defense. A&M 6 of 11 on 3rd down conversions today.
Keep in mind, number 8, always a run threat, this time accompanied in the offensive backfield with Travion Williams.
Knight will throw, pass is caught at the 40. Josh Reynolds makes the catch. And, you know, we've seen A&M try to get the perimeter, and I think one of the big aspects of what they do on the perimeter is Ricky Seals-Jones is such an exceptional blocker. He's not here today, and that's probably hurt them a little bit in that area.
Now, I think without question, I mean, always you try to develop a rapport. Trevor Knight, it's not like he grew up in this system. He's not been an A&M Aggie that long to have new faces out there in the passing tree.
Williams chased down, a loss of 2 on the play. Jonathan Walton will get credit for that tackle behind the line.
Right now, South Carolina doing a very good job of making the Aggie run offense go sideline to sideline. You see stringing out this football play, nowhere to stick it up inside. Walton does a good job coming upfield quickly and chasing down from behind.
Williams in motion, Knight over the middle. Pass is caught. Boyo will pick up 9, and Bryson Williams has his 5th tackle, but it's 3rd down, and again about 4.5 yards.
You're seeing, as we've mentioned before, he likes Reynolds on 3rd downs. That's where he went on the previous conversion.
Little keeper from Knight. He'll have it into South Carolina territory. Picks up 5 on the play.
To be draw.
Oh, he's going to be a little bit short. They're actually going to mark him back at the midfield stripe. They're going to say his knee touched right at the 50-yard line. So it's now going to be, actually that's left knee touched back at the 49. That was a generous spot for the Aggies.
They jumped the ball and got that snap off quickly. Otherwise, they probably would have looked at that spot again. That was a generous spot. You're right, Dave. It's where the ball is when the runner is established down, and his knee was down well behind the stripe at 50-yard line. But as it is, that pace, taking advantage of it, the Aggies doing a good job getting over the football and getting a quick snap and converting.
Fresh set of downs now for Texas A&M. Couple of conversions. Now a handoff goes to Travion Williams. He's got a little bit of space. to the 20, to the 10, heading to the end zone, hurdles a man. Touchdown, Texas A&M, 49 yards. There's the big play out of this big play offense we've been looking for.
They've been quiet on the ground for just about the entire game. It was just so difficult. You just saw how the QB run game can hurt you with the conversion. Back-to-back carries by Trevor Knight. But it's the home run hitter, Travion Williams, is a true freshman that has really emerged to help ignite this A&M rushing attack all season, and perhaps here for the first time versus the Gamecocks.
Daniel, the camera with the point after. It is up and it is good.
It's just a divide zone. This is one of their better plays, a staple of what the Aggies do, and they got that elusive, explosive play they were looking for. We saw last week how explosive this run game can be. Watch the influence that Travion Williams will have on the two linebackers and the defensive end, and then a seal block on the backside that allows Trevor Knight to split the defense. The linebackers' eyes are on Travion Williams. Really don't even have to block him because he's looking in the wrong spot. It makes it so difficult because you don't know who ends up with the football. That was last week versus Arkansas, but it's that dynamic that helped create that long touchdown run that we just saw by Travion Williams.
Great man will pick it off. Let's go back to that last touchdown and kind of explain how it connects to what we just saw.
Yeah, it's the mesh point more than anything else. Well, watch the two linebackers freeze. You see them right here? They're looking in that offensive backfield, and they're trying to figure out who's got the ball. You see Jonathan Walton, who's made some nice plays. He ends up sinking back inside. Thought Trevor Knight may have kept that football, as he has oftentimes so far in this game, and it was just enough to influence that second level and give some running room for Travion Williams, who doesn't need that much. He has really exploded on the scene this year as a big-time playmaker.
Back-to-back SEC freshman of the week honors. They'll swing it to the outside, and a big play from Donovan Wilson as he hits Dawkins for a loss of 4. And then, I tell you what, the last couple of series in the first half, and they start this third quarter one, there have been a half a dozen or more negative plays for the South Carolina offense.
Exactly right, and it's either a self-inflicted wound, somebody jumping the snap count, but the negative yardage plays hurt their offense's ability to not only maintain possession, but to try to gain field position. That's if you're not able to get into the end zone.
Now you're chasing the sticks again, second down at 13. McElwain trying to find a little bit of a seam, and look at it, not near the 30-yard line. We'll pick up 7 yards on that carry.
They've had some success with this run where you're able to get some pin blocks at the point of attack and then pull an offensive lineman to lead Brandon McElwain downfield. That time Alan Knott from his center position able to pull around. And McElwain, who hasn't really been able to get on track as a passer in this game, they're going to need him to be able to do both.
Carolina 3 out of 7 on third down, but they have been pretty lengthy third downs. Well, he is being chased again. He'll just airmail it over the bench.
Under duress, once again. We talked about it right up at the top of the game. No Myles Garrett in the protection schemes. It's hard to leave guys in to protect or max protect when you're third 10 plus, because you got to get more options out there in the pattern for your quarterback to have somewhere to go with the football.
Sean Kelly will punt it away. Christian Kirk stands at the 30-yard line. Fake opportunity, has a man. Hurst wide open at the 40. He's to midfield. Big collision at the 40, and there's the fake punt. Nick Harvey brings him down, but now Carolina in business.
Hey, you take your explosive plays any way you can get them. If you don't punt the football, it's an offensive snap. Very well executed. They end up just slipping Hayden Hurst. You can see there. an opportunity to pick up not only the first down, but flip the football field after a really poor opening possession here in the second half. 41 yards, and it has ignited this stadium after being silenced by the big play of the Aggie offense.
Rico Dowdle back in the game at running back. He sees a little seam, and he'll take it to the 30-yard line. He'll pick up 6. A little shifty running back.
I like what we've seen out of Rico Dowdle, and you can tell why the offensive coaching staff likes him a lot. Overlooked coming out of high school, but he does have some nice wiggle and finishes his runs pretty strong. There you see the changing up the snap count. We mentioned they've been jumping it. Dalen Mack, number 5, has been the guy who has really been jumping that count, and he's timed it well up until that point.
Should be good enough for the first down. Actually, let's see what they call here.
Offside. Defense number 5. The movement by the defense caused the offense to ref. 5-yard penalty.
It's been Dalen Mack twice now in the game where he's timed it up well, but this time, watch him. He's a little bit early. He thought he had the trigger timed up.
Looked like a little flinch from not.
Sometimes, you know, that center, he'll kind of grip his hand a little bit, and you get a hard count just enough. They'll be subtle with it. That's a good use of the snap count. They've been kind of hampered. That's been a handicap for this offense.
Dowdle breaks a tackle, made something out of nothing. Should have been stopped for no gain, maybe even a loss, but picks up 4. Armani Watts.
This is what we're talking about. Getting behind his pads. Dalen Mack got upfield quickly. Sean Washington. 2 or 3 guys with an opportunity to get Dowdle down, but he fought for extra yardage.
Dowdle cuts it back. He gets to the 20, gets about 1.5 yards before Donovan Wilson makes another tackle out of the secondary for Texas A&M. Boy, South Carolina really draining the play clock.
Yes, they are, and shortening this football game. In the second quarter, it was kind of this similar part of the field. It was when South Carolina was able to get going in their ground game. Take some of the pressure off of Brandon McElwain as a passer, but now facing the 3rd and 5.
Pressure comes. He's lucky he didn't lose that football. Boy, John Chavis dialed it up, sent all but 3 guys. And Deshaun Hall will get credit for the sack, a loss of 6, his 2nd of the game.
Deshaun Hall working against Hayden Hurst. Just beat him inside right now, but also Sean Washington coming off the edge. And that's the difficulty. We talk about Rico Dowdle, a true freshman in there running the football hard, but that time was asked to protect. Had to scan all the way across the formation and just didn't get there in time.
A 44-yard attempt from Elliott Fry, one of the best kickers in the country. Good clean snap. Kick is on the way. And it is no good. Elliott Fry, plenty of leg, but could not convert. An opportunity goes awry for South Carolina. Kevin Sumlin. He likes it. His club leads it by 7 on the road. The Fighting Stitches, I like that.
What would that mascot look like?
I don't know. Let's go down to Olivia and get an update.
Guys, cornerback Rashad Fenton is dealing with a right ankle issue. He's having some discomfort. I saw him tell teammates that he got hit from the side. He's been rolling it in circles, and now you can see they're evaluating him. They put these 2 soft braces on under his cleats, over his socks, to not favor one side. He's been backpedaling, and he did tell a teammate it's fine for now.
Boy, they can't afford any injuries in the back end. They just don't have any depth at all. James White picks up 4.
You're right. There's just no room for there to be any injuries in the back end. They've held up relatively well, kept them, the Aggie offense largely bottled up in the passing game. We've already seen one explosive play on the ground.
Just heard that first opening drive in the second half. Here's Trevor Knight buying some time. Lifts it up in the air. Nobody's there. You know, other than the long run we just saw a moment ago from Travion Williams, the objective was to force Trevor Knight to throw the football, and even his head coach, Kevin Sumlin, says, you know, that's the area where he's got to get a little bit better at throwing the football, and that's what South Carolina wanted to make him do, and I think they forced him to do that.
Yeah, they have, and you look at all the numbers today, largely deficient. There's significant deficits versus what we're typically seeing from this offensive unit.
Handoff goes to Williams. He'll pick up 4. Now another third down opportunity, and changes for South Carolina.
As we've mentioned on the earlier drive anyway, Trevor Knight finding Josh Reynolds, who's oftentimes on the right side of the formation. That's where he's been able to convert some third down passes. But he's also hit a QB draw on a third down. It was just enough to pick up the first. Here's Reynolds down here again.
Williams at running back. He'll come near side. Loose football. Carolina has it. It's scooped up. Chris Moody with the football at the 30-yard line. Darius English forced the fumble, and Carolina is in business.
The South Carolina coaches mentioned they thought Trevor Knight was a one-read kind of a guy. And it looked like he was looking Reynolds' way, didn't like what he saw. And English, who had a huge game last week versus Kentucky, 3 sacks, able to force the fumble when Trevor Knight decided to tuck and run, held him that football in his passing hand, hadn't yet tucked it, and secured it. And now the Carolina defense, given their offense a short field to work with and a quick change, the Aggie defense eventually was able to stiffen after that fake punt and force the field goal attempt that ultimately resulted in a miss. But now South Carolina with excellent field position to open this drive and momentum off the turnover.
They were just here a moment ago and couldn't produce anything. Missed a 44-yard field goal. Here's Turner. He is thrown to the ground by Justin Evans. 6'1", 200-pound safety is as physical as they come.
He is a thumper. And we've already seen in the first half the playmaking ability out of these Aggie safeties. Justin Evans, a couple of picks already this season. Nearly had one earlier in the first half. But in run support, he is a headhunter.
Dancing around to that line of scrimmage. Ardrick Walker brings him down.
We haven't seen a lot of pulls from Brandon McElwain. We've seen a couple of QB design runs where he's got some lead blockers, but on the zone read, maybe a little bit gun shy after last week where he had some difficult reads keeping the football at the quarterback position.
Third down at 5. Turner moves to the left of McElwain. Hayden Hurst is split in the slot to the right side, but they'll come near side with it. And McElwain is just swallowed up. There is just nowhere to run against this front of Texas A&M. Claude George this time credited with the stop.
Really nowhere to pitch this football either. Claude George, but watch Armani Watts. See number 23 takes away the pitch man. That time forcing McElwain to maintain possession, tried to turn it up.
And now it's another opportunity for Elliott Fry. This one is from 43. He just missed wide right just about a minute and a half ago. This kick is on the way, and this one is right down the middle. So the turnover creates 3 points on the board for South Carolina. They now trail 14-10. 3:14 to go in the third quarter. South Carolina and Texas A&M. Aggies trying to stay unbeaten. One of 3 unbeatens in the SEC. Alabama, Tennessee, and the Aggies. But they certainly have their hands full today with this South Carolina team in their SEC home opener. They'll have 5 straight home games through the Gamecocks after what was a horrific schedule that had them play their first 3 conference games on the road. Justin Evans out of the end zone. Evans spun out of bounds at the 36-yard line.
Well, A&M came out here in the second half, got a big play offensively from Travion Williams. And then the defense has had some adversity, having to find ways to get stops on the minus side of the football field due to a fake punt by South Carolina, the quick change off of the Trevor Knight fumble. The Aggie defense delivering, forcing just the 3 points, or allowing only the 3 points off of those 2 opportunities for South Carolina. Now a chance to regain field position with a nice opening kickoff return.
Trevor Knight will keep it around the edge. She'll have the first down and out of bounds. Right at midfield. He'll pick up 14 yards.
It's one of those things where it was amazing how fast he looked on a couple of those long runs watching the film versus Arkansas. He's running away from defensive backs. Kevin Sumlin said this guy's got wide receiver type speed.
Clocked him at 21 miles an hour. Handoff inside to James White. Now you had one of those vests on that measures all kinds of stuff yesterday at East College. What were you clocked at?
You know, that's not important. Are you sure? I think I was getting clocked in kilometers per hour. It's a different unit. They wear those.
You got to the teens though at one point. I thought.
Well, you know, it's 13 or 14. Give or take 5 or 6 miles an hour. But he's got wheels. That's the thing. Is they put those catapult systems on him to see how their players are working. And Trevor Knight, when Kevin Sumlin says your wide receivers fast with their stuff, that's saying something.
James White, a yard shy of the first down. And this was yesterday. Underneath, you have the catapult system on. That
was after a half gasser, okay? So let's put that into context.
And they're measuring all kinds of things right there.
Look at the hands. Yeah, I played out of position my entire career. The spin.
Tackled and
avoid the audio table over there. These kids don't have to worry about audio tables.
There was a computer set up over there measuring all the particulars. Inside handoff and pick up the first down for James White. Were you sore today after that?
I'll take a couple ibuprofen as a preventative measure. We'll never really know.
At least we have a baseline now to know where we start with you in workouts.
That's right. I didn't even register on one of their little tests.
From the 38-yard line, Trevor Knight lost it up in the air, and that one is picked off at the 10-yard line from Chris Lamons. His second interception of the year, and that one was a special interception.
Well, we were goofing around talking about miles per hour. They pick up a big third down and then take a shot on the heels of that. Now Trevor Knight on back-to-back offensive possessions, doing something he hasn't done all season, and certainly not in the past 2 games. Throw the ball in a dangerous spot. Chris Lamons, he's been well positioned most of this game. He's underneath this route by Tabuyo, and there was pressure once again on Trevor Knight as he's releasing this football. The pocket hasn't been that clean this game. It was Darius English for the Gamecock defensive front getting in there and getting in the face of Trevor Knight, disrupting the passer.
McElwain. Boy, he has nowhere to go. When he's tried to run the football, the Aggies have just been everywhere. It's almost like they got 2 or 3 extra defenders on the field.
They had a chance to continue that run and extend it, but Jacob August, number 40, just gets shaken out there, unable to get a good hand. And because of that, ended up costing a couple of extra yards for McElwain. As it is, a tackle for loss to open up this possession.
McElwain throws off his back foot, and that one should have been picked.
Gamecocks lucky to get the football back there.
Evans sitting on that route.
They brought edge pressure. John Chavis blitzing from the slot. And McElwain has to unload this quickly. Dalen Mack as well got loose right in the middle of the offensive front. And McElwain had to throw that ball early and lucky to get the ball back.
Third down and 11. McElwain coming near side. Boy, the Aggies are just flying to the football today. A gain of 3. Goodger makes the catch. Wilson leading the charge. There's just nowhere to go.
And a lot of speed on the football field for the Aggie defense. Haven't seen a lot of screens attempted in this game. Thought we'd see more of them. Haven't seen a lot of passing really here in the second half since that opening possession.
Texas A&M got a 49-yard touchdown run in the third quarter from Travion Williams. They lead it 14-10. Only the third meeting all time between these two clubs. A&M has won the first 2. South Carolina trailing 14-10 as we start the fourth quarter. Gamecocks getting set to punt it away. Aggies should have good field position to start the fourth quarter. Aggies have turned it over on consecutive possessions. Kelly's punt fielded by Christian Kirk, dancing around. Looking for a little bit of room. He'll take it out to the 48-yard line. With that, time to get an update. Let's go to Dari.
Likely, guys.
That'll be an interesting game without Mr. Fournette. Missouri's offense really clicking right now. Aggies defense clicking here today, trying to get their offense going. There's Christian Kirk. We were just talking during the break. Where is Christian Kirk? You finally see a sighting of him. Didn't have a touch in the third quarter, but a flag down at the 48. Once again, no Speedy Noyle.
Holding on the offense, number 15. The penalty is 10 yards from the spot of the foul. I think first down.
No Speedy Noyle, no Ricky Seals-Jones. They didn't make the trip here. Of course, no Myles Garrett as well. Illuminor, the right tackle, also didn't make the trip. He's out with an injury.
And this penalty is on Ricky Seals-Jones' replacement, Frankie Iheanacho, and you see him, his hands outside. I don't know. Another holding call. It's iffy.
Knight goes to the far side. Josh Reynolds makes the catch. He's out of bounds. DeMarcus King pushes him out of there, but there's the first down. Pickup of 17.
Mentioned how quiet Christian Kirk had been here in the second half. Really, Josh Reynolds, relatively quiet other than some key third down catches. Haven't seen him get any shots downfield.
Goes to Williams. Boy, his feet, non-stop movement in the backfield even before the snap.
That's right, yeah. I mean, I would have passed out. He's back there just chopping his feet along. It looked like an extended cadence, like he'd been fatigued.
A little more settled that time, but they'll get it to Kirk on the right side. There's a couple of blockers, and he'll have another first down.
Now you can see a little bit of the rhythm that has been absent from this offense all game long, other than really their first series. Got opened up, got Christian Kirk the ball early, backed up with a holding call, but overcome.
Williams picks up 2. Williams with 11 carries, 89 yards, and a touchdown. Trevor Knight rushing the ball, 9 for 60 today. Throwing the football. He was 20 out of 35 for a $185. They'll swing it to Williams. There's the first down again, close to the 10-yard line.
That's just too easy. You got Williams lined up in the backfield as a halfback. And Trevor Knight just sends him in motion right before the snap, gets a head start on his route, and he's wide open in the flats and with open space to run. Not ideal with a playmaker like him.
Williams to the 5.
Into that divide zone. That muddy up mesh point. You got a cross motion right in front of you, giving the linebackers a lot to look at. They take Travion Williams out to give him a little bit of a blow. A couple of nice runs and a catch to get the Aggies down here knocking on the door on the 5-yard line.
James White checks in at running back. They'll give him the football. He's down to the 1-yard line.
James White on the carry.
We've seen the South Carolina defense with some fortuitous turnovers. They've generated 4 of them on the year. That's the most in the country. It was the difference in the ball game a couple of weeks ago here at home versus East Carolina. Texas A&M with the 3rd down and barely enough room to pick up the first. But on these previous 2 offensive snaps, make sure that you don't give this football away down here with the scoring opportunity. See a little bit of confusion there. Trevor Knight looking over to the sideline.
Texas A&M, first time out of the half.
So a 3rd down and 1 coming up for the Aggies. 11:44 to go on the game clock, and it's certainly getting one of those situations where South Carolina just doesn't have that explosive playmaker offensively. Fall behind by a couple of scores. They almost need like a special teams touchdown, a defensive touchdown. They just haven't been able to move the ball at all since that opening play.
You're right. Yeah, the opening play, and then it hasn't been for lack of trying. There in the first half, a couple of reverses, one a reverse pass, a fake punt here in the second half. The defense does a good job of generating a turnover. But credit the Aggie defense of finding ways to get those stops in adverse scenarios. It's not easy on a quick change or an anticipated change of possession off a fake punt to get your mind back into it and getting a stop on the short field. And now the offense for Texas A&M able to drive all the way down to the 1-yard line just about and put it into scoring position and even a chance to pick up a first and pick up a fresh set of downs.
James White in at running back. They'll give it to White. He will fall forward and have the touchdown. His first touchdown of 2016 makes it a 20-10 game.
See there, Chris Moody trying to close down. Jonathan Walton there as well, but just too much forward momentum. James White able to bull his way into the end zone. Kevin Sumlin mentioned he's got 5 running backs. You don't see him very often. James White, the 3rd among the ball carriers in the backfield outside of the quarterback position. I'm going to take one more look at this to make sure White actually got in. See White there, Moody. No one accounting for him, and Jonathan Walton as well. It looks like, see his right knee is touching down. It's hard to see where the football is. All it has to do is break the front portion of the plane. But the thing is, the ball's in his left hand. If it was in his right arm, it would have been clearly in the end zone, I think, by the time his knee touched down. Keep in mind, it was 3rd down, but you could still pick up first down yardage. Even if he doesn't get into the end zone, I think he had enough to pick up the first. Here's a better look at it. See the ball in his left arm. See, the ball's right there. See the ball is right here. His knee's down. He definitely has enough for the first. But I don't think he actually got it into the end zone. If he had it in his inside hand, which he shouldn't when you're running left.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, I can say I think all you want. The challenge is you can't see through Jonathan Walton and just infer where that football is.
Which is why they said stands and not confirmed.
Right. Could tell one way or the other. But either way, you're talking about 4 cracks at your end zone from literally the goal line for A&M.
So White will pick up his first touchdown. The camera on to attempt the point after. Connor McQueen will set it down, and 21 on the board now for A&M. South Carolina trails by 11. 11:40 to go. The third straight 5-0 start, which hasn't been done since the 39, 40, and 41 teams, but they haven't finished very well the prior years that they started this fast. You look at what happened in 14 and 15 with 3 and 5 finishes. This year they are sitting at 4-0 right now, and when you talk to those among the coaching staff and the players, there just seems to be something a little bit different about this group of Texas A&M players. And there's a different attitude. There's a different vibe. It's just different.
Yeah. Well, they're different. They're more veteran than they've been. It's the first time you've got a veteran signal caller at quarterback.
That's taken by A.J. Turner. He's to the 20 and dropped there. And we talked to Kevin Stillman. I said yesterday, just pointedly asked him, I said, why is this going to be any different than what we've seen the last couple of years? He says, well, a couple of reasons. One is our schedule's not so front-loaded.
Right.
The schedule breaks out a little bit better for us.
Well, they got tested earlier, in past years. He said, look, we played UCLA. We had to go on the road, beat Auburn. We beat an Arkansas team. We knew more about our team than Arkansas did at that point. There is value to testing your team early, and certainly if they pass those tests, as A&M has.
And the other aspect, he said, some of these freshmen and sophomore that we were playing a lot the last couple of years are now grown men and understand how to win ball games in this league. Here's a guy that hasn't played in a couple of weeks, but has played for South Carolina. That's Perry Orth in at quarterback, and right out of the gate, a delay of game.
5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Perry Orth, he's been put in this position before. Vanderbilt, he came in, started the game. McElwain came in. Perry Orth comes back in, able to lead a comeback charge. Only 6 pass attempts this half for the Gamecock offense. They must feel better about Orth in that passing game.
First pass to the outside, and that one is incomplete. And once again, we talk about Texas A&M and their injuries at wide receiver. The same can be said. There's not that explosive player for South Carolina right now. Deebo Samuel out again with a bad hamstring, and the freshman that everybody loves around here, Brian Edwards, out with a bad hamstring. And another true freshman, Drake Davis, he's out with a hamstring. So not a whole lot of explosiveness to go to for South Carolina. Middle, there's Hurst, makes the catch. There's your tight end who played wide receiver in high school, albeit it was years ago, but he knows how to split off the line of scrimmage.
He looked the part here, working in the slot. Ball's a little bit high, did a good job of making a catch for his quarterback over the middle. We mentioned all the deficiencies at wide receiver, but Hayden Hurst has been a mainstay for the Gamecock passing attack.
Ford steps up in the pocket, slings it across the middle. That pass is caught. That's another Gamecock first down, a pickup of 12, and there's Javon Charleston, who just made the conversion from defensive back to wide receiver this week and changed his number from 12 to 88.
Yeah, one of the reasons we said they made the move, the coaches said we needed depth. We had to be able to practice. That's how hamstrung, literally and figuratively, South Carolina has been offensively. They're moving DBs back over just so that they can run routes in practice.
Going up top. That pass is caught, and what a nice throw that was.
Casey Crosby, we talk about these tight ends, some of their athleticism. This is why Kurt Roper is so excited about that position. We've seen 2 catches now on this drive, one to Hayden Hurst and now to Casey Crosby, getting downfield for a big gain.
Dowdle in at running back. First down and 10. Rico stays on his feet. Rico to the 15. How about this drive?
You put Perry Orth in there, you want to open up the passing game, and he's been able to deliver. And this is after starting this drive with a delay of game, and you're able to complete a couple passes in a row, string them together, and then Rico Dowdle able to punch one in the middle.
Already 69 yards on this drive. Or 3 out of 4, 58 yards. Here's Rico. He spins and met at the 15, maybe a yard. Claude George, Sean Washington. Washington now with 10 tackles.
That play was under duress from the get-go. Once again, Dalen Mack, and he's got an offsides. Either he's got the quickest twitch muscles of any nose tackle I've ever seen, or he's timing up this snap almost perfectly. Allen not back, could barely get a snap off.
Rod Talley getting some work at running back now on second down. Orth hit as he throws, loose football. It's on the deck, and the Gamecocks will have it back at the 26-yard line. Mason Zandy will fall on it. Boy, and a couple of Aggies slow to get up in the secondary.
And Sean Washington and Claude George, both linebackers coming from the edge. That was a fumble. Mason Zandy aware enough to fall on the football. But a big negative yardage play generated by this Aggie defense to help slow down this onslaught. Perry Orth came in and moved the Gamecock offense right down the football field.
It's Nick Harvey on the ground. Also, Donovan Wilson was slow to get up. He's walking back to the bench. Gamecocks driving the football. Third down coming up. We'll step aside. Boy, it is getting tight in Athens, GA. Tight here as well. We've still got a lot of time on this clock. 8:59 to go, and Carolina driving, looking at a third down, however. A couple of Aggies got hurt in that last play. Nick Harvey's off the field. Donovan Wilson was also injured. A.J. Turner, both guys look like they're going to be okay. They ran into each other on that last play. Here's Orth on third and long. Underneath, and that one is, well, should have been picked off. Should have been, could have been.
Sean Capers-Smith almost with the interception. Pressure again, Perry Orth, that time trying to get the ball to Chavis Dawkins. True freshman, tips that football up, and the entire South Carolina sideline holding its collective breath. Don't want to turn the football over and forfeit a chance to put 3 points on the board and make it a one-possession game.
So here's Elliott Fry again. He made from 43 on the other end of the field. We'll try it again. This one is on the way. And it hits the upright. Elliott Fry has now missed from 44 and 43.
Yep.
Boy, what a difference this game would be right now with a couple of those going through. That stings, but the Aggies stand tall and lead it on the road. Texas A&M came into this game averaging 37 points, sitting at 21 right now with 8:36 to go. Good enough to have an 11-point lead. Trevor Knight slings it far side. Here's Kirk, gets a block on the edge. He's hit at the 31, picks up 7, hit by DJ Smith.
So far, it's been pretty good perimeter tackling by South Carolina. A&M has repeatedly gotten the football to Christian Kirk near the line of scrimmage, trying to get him to spring loose as the great punt returner that he is. But excellent field tackling by the Gamecock secondary so far.
Second down and 4. Inside handoff, stuffed after about a yard and a half, maybe 2 by Trevion Williams, who's trying to chase down his third consecutive 100-yard game.
We talked about it coming into this game, just how good the rushing attack has been. 4 straight 200-yard rushing performances by the A&M offense. It's been kind of slow to get rolling here today versus the Gamecocks. Credit South Carolina, not only getting those turnovers, but slowing them down between the tackles.
Inside handoff. I don't think he got it. Williams again, this time only a yard. Quay Lewis steps in to make the play for the Gamecocks, and here comes the Aggie punt team.
So hard, you're running, trying to run between the tackles. Zone concept. Looked like Travion Williams banged up a little bit. See, nice push by the defensive front. You never saw that line of scrimmage displaced. Gamecocks D-line doing a good job.
Jamarcus King calls for the fair catch at the 20. Backpedals to the 18. A good kick, 46 yards by Shane Tripucka. And let's see if Perry Orth is coming back in. I would assume so after a solid drive. First time he's played in a couple of weeks. As Will Muschamp didn't want to put any pressure on McElwain, wanted him to feel like it was his show. But that last drive was solid. Slinging it around to some receivers in his tight end, Hayden Hurst.
Yeah, he came out guns blazing. First hitting Hurst over the middle. Then he's able to stick one in there. Chavis Dawkins then pushing it downfield to his tight end Casey Crosby along the sideline. And until they were able to, ended up in that third down situation. Lucky to get the ball back to even attempt that field goal, but ultimately missed.
Orth again. Pass complete. Guger with the reception. That picks up 13. And Guger not getting up over there in the Aggie sideline.
Took a pretty big hit there at the end of that catch. Priest Willis gave Guger a pretty good shot. We've already mentioned just how decimated that wide receiver position is by injuries. Priest Willis coming in. Maybe, I don't know if it was his, looked like he almost grabbed at his left arm. I don't know if he got a little stinger that went down his left arm. Kind of hard to see what the injury was exactly.
Guger, the sophomore out of Atlanta by way of Woodward Academy. Let's get an update from Dari in the studio. Dari, what's a big kid?
Wow. Man, you can't take a sack in your own end zone, period, but at worst, at least hang on to the football. You see Terry Guger being helped off, and it does look like sometimes when you get a hit, maybe his head gets a little bit stretched a little bit, you get a burner going down one of your arms. And I think that's what ended up happening there on that catch.
So now you're down Samuel, Guger, Davis, Edwards. You're left with basically Banks, Smith, Dawkins, Charleston, and Mattrick Belton. Little toss. Boy, Turner hit that hole going 100 miles an hour, and he's inside A&M territory down to the 47-yard line. A gain of 22. Nick Harvey with the stop.
They're running hard. And you can tell just by the sound of it. Ran right through a would-be tackle of Justin Evans and finished strong with a couple extra yards running over Nick Harvey.
Orth slings it to the outside. Casey Crosby inside the 40. He picks up 7.
It's interesting, you know, Brendan McElwain has been the change-up at quarterback. He's got the past 2 starts, but ever since Perry Orth has been inserted, albeit A&M is playing defense with a lead, this offense has been moving far better with Orth at quarterback, able to throw the football around.
2nd down and 3. Here's Hurst. Hurst near the 30-yard line. That'll be a first down. Pickup of 8 more yards.
We got a nice block from his fellow tight end, Casey Crosby, out on the perimeter again. Effectively, that's what's happened here. South Carolina forced to just blow out their tight ends. They're playing in the slots on this down.
Over the middle, here's Hurst. Oh, he had Hayden Hurst at the 10-yard line, just zinged it a little too hard.
He had him right now. Hayden Hurst gets across Donovan Wilson's face. You see Wilson underneath. Just a little bit too much juice on that pass. Take just a little bit off of it. Allow his tight end to run into it. He bangs his head on the goalpost for 6.
So now it's 2nd down and 10. Inside slant. Incomplete. Casey Crosby, the intended target.
And run pass option. And A.J. Turner looked like he had a nice hole to the right side of that South Carolina offensive front. Perry Orth pulls it, tries to sling it, jam one in there. Now faced with another 3rd down, this time on the red zone fringe. Last time South Carolina lucky to maintain possession when the Aggies were able to collapse the pocket.
Well, look at the 3rd downs they've had to try to accomplish. They on average 9.9 yards. This one, 10 yards. And they have not been successful, just 3 of 12. Chavis Dawkins made the catch but had a knee down, picks up 5. But at this point with 4:54, 4:53, 4:52, we're going to bring out the kicking unit, try to make it a 1-score game. He's missed 2 from 44 and 43. He's made from 43. This one is again from 43.
We talked with Will Muschamp. He's got ultimate confidence in his kicker, despite what we've seen here today.
This kick is on the way, and Fry converts. So, it is a 1-possession game. 4:23 to go. 21-13, Aggies still out front. SEC home opener for South Carolina. They have fought tooth and nail with the 9th-ranked Aggies, who are trying to stay unbeaten. They are 4-0 against the 2-2 Gamecocks. 1-possession game. South Carolina will kick it away with 4:23 to play.
Prior to the kick, timeout, Texas A&M. 2nd of the half.
Yeah.
Boy, interesting. Timeout.
I think they were sweating either a sky kick or a quick onside attempt. Call timeout.
Well, we'll take it with them. Back in a moment. Kevin Sumlin calling a timeout just moments before that kick. What did you see there, Stan?
Well, it's a 1-possession game, and you see they're all bunched up here, and this one guy where you could either kick a little kind of a dribbler. We've seen kickers do that a time or two before, and I think Kevin Sumlin was worried that that's exactly what they had on.
Well, he was standing right in line with that linesman, right in his ear. And as the kicker approached, that's when he called timeout.
So I wanted to see him tip their hand to see if that's what they were doing.
So Fry's kick about 5 yards deep for Justin Evans. He'll bring it out. Coverage has been good today by South Carolina. Evans wrapped up just over the 15. Loose football. Loose football. Did the whistle blow before the ball came free? The Aggies come up with it anyway. Well, that'll make your heart stop for a beat if you're an Aggie fan.
That ball was out, and it sounded like the whistle was blown after it was out. Jonathan Walton Looked to me, number 28 got his hand on the football and raked it out. The Aggies lucky to get that possession back. Tavares Robinson said they're ball hawks. They're going after the football.
Here is Knight. Oh, he tripped up, trying to make the cut. Has the first down out over the 30. Picks up 14 yards. One of his best runs of the night.
Trevor Knight has done this before. He's done it late in games. The only person that could have tackled him there was probably himself. Credit him with a nice run and a tackle on the play.
Quick throw out to Kirk. Let's go down to Olivia.
Dave, Aggies running back Keith Ford has a boot on his left foot. He changed out of his uniform, not going back in. Also, running back Travion Williams working with athletic trainers on the sideline. After their last offensive drive, he has tape on his right ankle over his cleat for extra protection. He's pacing now on the sideline, wanting to go in, but you can see he did not go in on this first drive.
Yeah, Keith Ford just kind of disappeared, and after halftime came out with that boot on that foot. Hopefully that's not too serious. Oh, they have had a nice combination, 1-2 combination with he and Williams. There's a look at Mr. Ford, the transfer from Oklahoma.
He's a bumper. When we talk about Travion Williams as a home run hitter, that's a guy right there that will get you the dirty yards between the tackles. Really had that one carry early on, a little bit banged up. This speaks to the depth that A&M has at their running back position. We talked about it earlier. Kevin Sumlin, he feels as if he's got 5 guys that they can trust to carry the football.
So 3:38 to go, second down and 4. Would that football pop out of there for a minute? Looked like it did, but fell right back into the hands of White. Maybe there was something else I saw, but White is stuffed at the line of scrimmage. Oh, it did.
It sure did. Wow. You talk about a lucky break with all of those Gamecocks. Look at the black jerseys. And Jordan Diggs can't believe it. Look at number 42. That ball was on the deck. And a chance for the Gamecocks to recover it, and James White is tackled onto his own fumble.
South Carolina burns a timeout, 3rd down and 7. Boy, White fortunate that popped right back up into his belly.
I wonder, we were just talking about how Keith Ford's a little bit banged up. James White getting some more carries. Coming into this game, he only had 7 touches. A lot of ball handling. He got a clean handoff. And it looked to me like Keir Thomas, true freshman defensive tackle, met James White pretty suddenly, and that ball popped right out.
A&M has faced 17 third downs. 17 today. They have converted on 9. It's now 4th down.
It froze the cadence a little bit and allowed Chris Lamons to sink inside versus Christian Kirk in the slot. We asked whether or not there was enough time to try to match up your best cover men on the receivers for A&M. And because of their tempo, usually it's not. But on that 3rd down, South Carolina able to make the adjustment.
Fair catch called for and dropped at the 30-yard line. Who's got the football? Texas A&M has it.
And who recovers it? The 12th man.
Gillespie comes up with the big play. Cullen Gillespie, the sophomore out of Katy, Texas.
Jamarcus Kings coming up to try to field this punt. And his own right knee is the one that bounces the football out of there. Come up, field it cleanly. Your knees between his two hands. The ball bounces right out, and Will Muschamp can't believe it. Your defense gets a stop, gets you the ball back. And an unforced error gives the ball right back to the Aggie offense.
Only one timeout for the Gamecocks. Knight will keep it, turns the corner. He'll pick up 15 yards. I tell you what, go back to Rashad Fenton getting hurt earlier. He's usually the man back there. King has to go back and take these punts.
The domino effect. You're already a thin football team. In the back end, you're trying to protect the reps at least. DB's been out on the field, a lot of offensive snaps. Marcus King with a critical error.
From the 15-yard line, Texas A&M, first down and 10. Will Muschamp will burn the timeout, loss of 4. Let's get an update from Dari.
Upping it and giving it right back to the Aggie offense.
You know, we look at Kevin Sumlin right here, and going on the road in this conference, I don't care who you're playing, always a tough test. But if you're him, what are you thinking? Like, what's going through your head right now? When we're walking out of here,
he's thinking, I got to get healthy at wide receiver. I got to rein in some of these turnovers, make sure my quarterback's not turning into the 2013 version of Trevor Knight.
A little bit high and incomplete. That'll stop the clock.
Force a third down, trying to get to Christian Kirk. And really offensively, if you got some concerns, it would be the lack of rhythm, even with some of the new faces in their offensive lineup for the Aggies. A 3rd and 10 plus. Go away even just with a field goal, though, and you make it a 2-possession ball game with 2.5 to play. And South Carolina's burned all their timeouts.
3rd down and 14. Run it with James White, picks up 2, but nothing Carolina can do about the clock now.
See it trickling down. They're going to let it bleed all the way down. Pop a field goal through the uprights. And it's a 2-possession ball game for South Carolina. You see someone there. He'll milk this thing as long as he can, another 18 seconds. Get this thing inside of 2 minutes. No way for South Carolina to stop the clock except get out of bounds.
Has a few seconds to catch up with Lane Thomas, the headlines, and figure out what's going on.
Sure, how's the wife and kids?
Right.
Sure, how's your tractor running?
Boy, you know, Will Muschamp has said to us, we're not good enough to have self-inflicted wounds, and they've had some today that have cost them dearly.
We just can't afford to be able to move the football, fake punt, gets them in field position. You miss a field goal, then you miss another field goal after Perry Orth comes in, moves the offense right down the field, and then you muff a punt in a 1-possession ball game with plenty of time to play and a timeout to work with. Will Muschamp, he just doesn't know what to do with himself. We know what he would usually do, but he's had to be a lot more reserved this year. Young football team, somewhat fragile football team. But South Carolina has had plenty of opportunities to win this ball game.
Well, here's a chance to perhaps ice this one away. Daniel LaCamera. He has tried to connect from 35, and he does so. He is solid from 35, and it makes it a 2-possession game. 24 on the big board for the Aggies. 13 for the Gamecocks with 1:41 to play. That is clutch. Kevin Sumlin likes it. Kevin Sumlin now just has to play a little bit of defense and get out of here with a win, and he can focus on Tennessee. And we're going to get an update, I have a feeling, in a moment about what just happened in Athens, Georgia. You heard the oohs and ahs from the crowd because on the big board here, a shocking turn of events just occurred between the hedges. Wow. So Braden Mann will kick it off for the Aggies. And with that, let's go to Dari. And Dari, Texas A&M and Tennessee. You think that place will be rocking? Barry Orth underneath, and now you'll see the Aggies just sag back, keep everything in front of them. 9-yard pickup for Crosby.
Well, it's been a far more interesting contest than many would have thought here today. A&M defense has come up with the stops it's needed. Key moments, a couple of quick changes. Special teams, fake punt by South Carolina. A couple of well-defended plays, a couple of reverses by the Carolina offense. And Aggie defense still able to get the stops it's needed. Forced field goal attempts. Elliott Fry with a tough day so far.
Over the middle, what a catch by Hayden Fry. He is having a, Hayden Hurst, excuse me. Like an old school Iowa for a minute. 5 catches now for Hayden Hurst. He has just been all over the place today for this Gamecock offense. They just need 2 or 3 more of number 81s out there. That one is dropped. Time now for our player of the game, brought to you by Quicken Loans. Deshaun Hall, without his partner Myles Garrett today, still had a heck of a game. 6 tackles, 3.5 of those behind the line with a couple of sacks.
Yeah, we talked about the negative yardage plays in this game. Will Muschamp said this team's just not good enough to overcome miscues. Well, whenever you're going backwards offensively, that certainly is not what you're intended to do, get you behind the down and distance. That happened over and over again here tonight.
Down.
So I think both these teams certainly will leave here and try to get some guys healthy. I mean, it's shocking how many playmakers aren't on the field today between these two teams.
You got a South Carolina team that has to find a way to heal up these hamstrings at wide receiver. And you know, it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening. Obviously not going to escape with a victory. But Perry Orth really ignited this offense, and it wasn't like A&M was just playing prevent defense. They moved the football right down the field in the passing attack.
Orth, that pass is dropped. Dawkins.
It's been a game of missed opportunities for sure. Well, credit South Carolina, they did find ways to put themselves in position to win this football game. And albeit against an A&M squad that isn't at full force, some key players that did not take the field here today for the Aggies. But South Carolina had their chances to win this game.
Quick slant, big hits, gain of 6 on the play. Armani Watts with a final crack.
Another shot from one of those safeties for Texas A&M, and they are definitely special players that are going to impact the rest of this season for the Aggie D.
That'll stop the clock at 14 seconds. Now for South Carolina.
Squad has to continue to improve. I think after last week he injected, but here today, the team probably took a step forward. Texas A&M was able to weather the storm on the road with a depleted line.
Number 9, 23 of 40, 206. Williams not told. A&M with 425 of offense. South Carolina with 406. Big board. A&M wins it 24. Cannot win their SEC home opener, but the Aggies go unbeaten through 5 games. They are now 5-0, 3-0 in conference play. And for Texas A&M, it's the 3rd consecutive year that they have opened up 5-0, and they are off to a fantastic start. Let's go downstairs to Olivia.
Coach, you came to Columbia without a couple key players. You lost 2 running backs in the second half. Who had to step up tonight?
Well, it's week 5, 6. Nobody's, that we wanted to get over here. We guys out, and I thought some guys answered. That Jeremy made some big plays to help us. Our running game got going early, got going in the second half, kind of helped us. But as a team effort, we don't take that for granted.
Your 3rd straight season with a 5. What gives you confidence in this group to keep it?
We'll see where we are. We've prepared differently in the off season, experience, but it's all about performance. So get big when you win, and we got another big one next week.
Thank you. Quarterback now, I've got him. I wanted to say, a lot of people have a lot to say about this Texas. You're 5-0 now. What should people be saying about this undefeated?
I hope that they would say that we're a group that goes action every week. We're a brotherhood. Today wasn't necessarily play. Our emphasis was kind of to start fast, and we did that well in the other parts of the game. But we got to win. We're 5-0. Couldn't feel better. I've always said there's no because when you're winning football games, that's a big time deal.
Sure. What did halftime to come out and spark that quick score?
Well, we did. Like I said, we started fast and then kind of sputtered. Get on our game. Be us. It's all about us, and that's what we've been preaching. Continue to do that.
You face Tennessee next week. Did your eyes watch that incredible Hail Mary win?
Yeah, I heard they had an awesome finish. Big time atmosphere next week. We're looking forward to the challenge.
Thank you, Olivia. And for Texas A&M, Coach Solomon said it. Hey, it's a W conference. You're the 9th-ranked team in the country. You've got number 11 coming to your place. This is setting up for a wild finish in the SEC Western Division, to say the least. And everybody's wondering, can anybody catch Alabama? And here's Texas A&M still sitting there. Maybe they can.
Yeah, undefeated. They need to be full strength,
though, that's
absolutely, for sure.
Absolutely.
They're banged up football team coming into this game, maybe even more banged up coming out of this game with the likely injuries to Keith Ford and Travion Williams. We talk about that ground game getting going. They're going to need those guys healthy if they're going to make waves in that West Division. But first, they're going to have a pretty difficult task versus the Tennessee Volunteers, who are undefeated in their own right at home.
Door for Texas A&M, folks. It is switch gears for just a second for South Carolina. It's one of those years where this is an undermanned football team, very young in a lot of spots. How do you keep it going? How do you keep guys motivated if you're Will Muschamp? Because this is, they were competitive today against a top 10 football team.
They were, and they were able to put themselves in position to win this game with a lot of young guys who haven't been in situations like this before. You break down the film, but you point to the opportunities, you point to the miscues, and you learn from those, but you can't beat them down. They're too young for that, but for sure, this is a team that actually took a step forward versus what they saw out of their performance a week ago versus Kentucky.
Certainly a tough loss for South Carolina. A good win just to get out. Long from Columbia, guys. All yours.